All right, we are live. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let me adjust my mic here. If you can hear me okay, please put a 1 in the chat. Let me make sure my settings are all set. All right, perfect. Thank you guys again so much for taking the time out of your day. Today we're going to be covering the Trump rally shooter. I've got a lot of stuff to go over. A lot of new details have come out. But before we get started, we always like to get back by featuring missing people at the beginning of the show. So here, today's missing, we have... Let me just blow this up a little bit. Nope, that's not the right one. There we go. Mary Mac, I hope I pronounced that right. Missing out of Arizona. Not surprising, a lot of people go missing in Arizona. Looks like she went missing on July 25th, so that was 6 days ago. So she went missing around 6:30 p.m. near 35th Ave and Glendale Avenue. 15 years old at the time, 115 pounds, 5'4", brown eyes, and long black and red hair. It's got a tattoo saying Kenna on their ankle. Scar middle nose and left lip, braces and cleft lip here. And the details, it says she was last seen wearing a red t-shirt, black long shorts, but could have easily changed clothing by now. She does not have any money or her phone, which is terrible because she had a phone. They could probably track her. Family is obviously concerned for her safety. For those that know Steve Fisher, he's a kind of a hired PI. I think he is out on her case right now, which is great because he does amazing work. But if anybody has any information, you can call 602-529-3303. Once again, Mary Mack, hope I pronounced that right, out of Glendale, Arizona, went missing 6 days ago. All right, so one other thing for the patrons and members, I'm doing something I started last weekend. We're going out every weekend to a place here in Utah. Last week I went to the Great Salt Lake, got some amazing footage and talked about the history, and so I did that for the patrons and members. And so we're going to be doing that again this weekend, and so we'll be doing a vote. We have Skinwalker Ranch here. We also have some unsolved cases like this one here, Kaylin Louder, that's really close. A lot of people have covered her case, but get some of the details wrong. And so anyway, we'll be doing a vote on that for the members and Patreon starting tomorrow. So today, we'll go over the timeline of the event. Now, obviously, this happened at a political rally, but this channel, for those that are new, we're not covering any political topics. We're just covering the facts that we know them. You know, sometimes I do get things wrong, as the media does. But we're also going to go over enhanced audio. There was a guy there that recently uploaded a video that was real close to the shooter, probably within 50 yards of the shooter. That was literally between the shooter and Trump. And so I actually took his audio because before he had released that, a lot of people had gone off the audio from other sources. But since this guy is super close, I took his audio. And I know there's been a lot of talk of how many shots were taken, who took the shots. And anyway, some new details about an officer that supposedly shot at Crooks, who actually distracted him to allow the sniper. Because there's reports that he took 7 or 8 shots and then 2 snipers took a shot back at him. But according to recent developments, that is not exactly the case. So we'll dissect that, go over that, and then we'll talk about the bombs that he had, background, and much more. So got a lot to go over. Been putting this together since 7 a.m. this morning, so let's get into it. Real quick here, we got Gail Hurd gifting my Mob Crew membership. Thank you so much, Gail. If you did get gifted, please thank Gail. That is so sweet. And then we have Maddie's mom. Good to see you. Hi, Chris. I appreciate all your hard work on these cases. Thank you so much. All right, let's get into it. Let me adjust the screen here. And for those that are just coming in, if you can, please hit that like button. It helps get this video out here. And just going to play just a small clip from this guy. He has a YouTube channel. Any videos that I show that aren't coming from me, I have a link to them. So as they pop up, I'll talk about them and where you can go and find their full clips. This particular one, it says at Real DJ Stu, but he has a YouTube channel called Dayve Stewert. He was out there.
The history of our country took over.
And so he's literally between practically the shooter and where Trump is standing when the shots are fired.
What happened to our
Make yourself small, bro. I don't know what's going on.
20 million people.
Thomas Crooks, just 20 years old, had no prior arrests and recently graduated from a community college. So here's just a quick background. I'm sure a lot of you that's been following this case know his, his story. But for those that are kind of maybe newer to this, here's just about 2 minutes, probably less, of just kind of his background of the shooter in May.
Was a high school student when he appeared in an ad for an investment company. We found this video on his high school Facebook page explaining computer coding to another student.
The signal is decreasing.
Crooks' high school years were troubled. He was rejected by the school rifle team. Crooks' aim was comically bad, according to one report.
He was in the same homeroom as me.
Former classmate Sarah D'Angelo says Crooks studied the assassination of President Kennedy in honors American history class.
I thought this was very interesting because you know that he obviously looked how far was Oswald from Kennedy. I'm sure people have mentioned this before, learning this, but it does make me wonder, did this kind of give him the idea, doing this project? Not to say that, the teacher's fault or the school's fault or whatever, but did this kind of get the ball rolling, by doing this, where you're coming up with your own kind of conspiracy of where the shooter's at and everything? I thought that was kind of interesting. June with a $5 donation. Donations to help Chris search for the missing and monthly expenses. Thank you so much. Yeah, not only do we cover true crime, but we do go out search for the missing. Right now it's really hot, and I got to take a week or so off before we go back out and search.
You kind of had to make your own conspiracy theory about where the shooter was and, like how you thought it was done.
He was Crooks goofing around with other students. Kohler says Crooks wore an anti-COVID mask long after they were required.
Thomas Crooks.
This is Crooks' 2022 high school graduation. He graduated community college in May with an associate's degree in engineering science. He found work as a dietary aide at a nursing home after passing a background check. You could see behind me.
Okay, so now just a little background. All right, so days leading up to the Trump rally shooting, July 3rd, the Trump rally was announced for Butler, Pennsylvania. Then on July 6th, he had searched the term, how far was Oswald from Kennedy? And then, of course, we had just heard about him doing a project where they had covered that whole thing, and they were supposed to kind of come up with their own kind of conspiracy theory. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And, like I said earlier, did that kind of get the ball rolling? Who knows what was in his mind? Obviously, we can't ask him now. But I do think that was kind of interesting that they did cover that subject before this happened. July 7th, he traveled to Butler Farms. Not only stayed there for 20 minutes, but obviously pre-scouting it. Then July 12th, one day before the rally, he went to the Sportsman's Club, which is a shooting range. He took his father's AR. This is the same AR that would be used in the shooting. So clearly going to practice. Now, we don't know how long he'd been doing this, so I just put unknown date. Maybe they'll find out more as time goes on, but Crooks would build, as far as it's been, as far as we know right now, 3 IED bombs, improvised explosive device, what it stands for, with 2 being in a white van, which we'll talk about later on, which was parked nearby the rally, and then apparently one of these bombs were left at the home. And then they also found other bomb-making materials along with a 3D printer. Yeah, thank you so much, Ellen. I always try to thank everybody who it donates, PayPal, Venmo. I kind of hate PayPal because you can't thank people. Like Venmo allows you to thank people, send a message. GoFundMe allows you to thank people, but PayPal doesn't allow you to do that. But if you do send anything, especially like PayPal, let me know in the chat so I can thank you. So here we go. We'll go through the timeline. Like I said, we got a bunch of stuff coming up with the audio and stuff. So at 10 a.m., Crooks went to the Butler farm for 70 minutes. So clearly scouting the rally, probably seeing where they're setting up stuff, I'm assuming. I've never been to a rally and stuff like that. I'm not big into politics, to be honest. And again, if you're just coming in, if we can try to refrain from mentioning, topics involving politics. We focus on true crime here. But here's amazing drone video, which I've got credit to the person in the description and on the video here in a minute. But this is from the spa guy. He took the drone out there after the incident happened. And that is the roof that Crooks would be up on. And it was kind of amazing because it's assumed, well, actually it's not assumed, we haven't seen it. Hopefully they'll release it, but apparently they actually have footage of Crooks actually climbing up. So if anybody's wondering, did he use a ladder? According to the FBI or whatever, there is a video, surveillance video, that shows him hoisting himself up, and there's 2 different areas that he could have done it that are pretty easy. Gail says I slapped my DNA on the like button. Thank you so much. So then we move a little bit on. So obviously this July 13th, 1:30, Crooks' father lends him the AR. So apparently, I guess he tells his father, hey, I'm going to the shooting range. Can I get your borrow the AR? And so, assuming the family believes that he's just going to the shooting range for a couple hours or whatever, at 1:55 p.m., Crooks goes to the local ammo store and buys a thing of ammunition. It was also reported that he went to Home Depot to buy a ladder, but that hasn't been really mentioned much lately, so I don't know if that's true or not. Here's the home. Now what's interesting, when I was originally looking this case up, it said that he owned a Hyundai Sonata, and this doesn't look like a Sonata. Trying to think of the make or the model, but yeah, this is a SUV. Usually a Sonata is kind of just like a sedan, right? I don't know, maybe they made a Sonata in an SUV type. But anyway, Crooks would have a white van, which is something I'd love to do some more research on, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Then we don't know what time, at least I haven't found an exact time, but at some point the parents of Crooks would call the police claiming he is missing. I'm assuming after he didn't come back from the supposed shooting range, which he never went to that day. They said hours before the shooting took place, so if it happened at 6:11 hours, so maybe between 3 and 4, 2 and 5, something like that, they called. Then I just put 3 p.m. approximately. Could be a little bit before, a little bit after. But Crooks would park his van a few blocks away from the rally. And we'll look to see where that was at. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, they say live streaming. So I was wondering, when he said that, that came from the director, right? I wonder when he said live streaming, for those that are familiar with drones, because I think what he meant by live streaming, and I could be wrong, maybe he was live streaming and there's some stream out there where he was doing it. Maybe there is, but I think if he wasn't talking about live streaming it, is when you fly the drone, they've got better ones now, but you would typically hook up your phone, and this would be kind of your device that you see what the drone is seeing, what the camera is seeing. And so I wonder if he means the live streaming to the phone kind of thing. Again, I don't know. It could be to people, or he just kind of used that term and he just meant that it's live streaming to the phone, which now some of the newer ones, they have remotes. They actually have a screen built into them. A lot of the older ones, you'd have to hook up to your phone and it streamed to the phone. So I wonder if that's what he meant. So anyway, not to get off track, but yeah, that is something that I do wonder. So this is where he parked the van, and compared to where the Trump rally was at. So the Trump rally was here. This is where he would position himself as a shooter, and he parked the van off 116 Lawrence Ave, which is, I guess, maybe 2 blocks away. Not very far. There's the van. It just so happens this van actually had Arizona license plate, which is very interesting. So I wonder if that was done on purpose. Did he take some Arizona license plates and throw those on after he parked to try to throw him off? Because I think there was a plan to try to escape from this, and we'll talk about it at the end, with where everything he positioned, everything. But anyway, for those that are wondering, this is where he parked the van. You can kind of see where the ditch goes in. There's a hill that goes down up. This is the van, and it had 2 IED explosives in it. But they were not active because I think he forgot to flip on a switch, which we'll talk about. Yeah, so I think from here what happened is he had a bike in the van, and then so he parked there, and then from there took his bike and then rode it to the rally, which obviously would have just been, it's literally a 13-minute walk from this area to the rally. So, a bike, he'd get there in like 5-6 minutes. Here's just a little clip of them searching, and we'll kind of go over this later as well, because at the time they're realizing that there's bombs in the van. Then at 3:50, Crooks flies a drone at the Butler farm for 11 minutes. So now Crooks would be there. So it'd be interesting to note. And so this is what it'd look like going into where he would be kind of positioned. And assuming he probably took his bike. So this would be kind of what he would be seeing going to this AGR building. Now this is kind of just on the outskirts of where they had the fenced off part of the rally. So this is kind of on the outside of the rally. So again, if you want to see the whole drone footage, I've got the link in the description. I say Adventures of Spa Guy because that's what he calls it, but it's actually just Spa Guy. you want to search it up. But he points out something really interesting in a couple places where he could have climbed, and we'll cover that here in a minute. But just some drone shots, his perspective if he was up there. Yeah, I don't think he took a ladder, Candy. I think he was able. They actually say they have footage showing him climbing up, hoisting himself up. And there's two areas where I wouldn't say easily, but an athletic person could do it. And we'll look at those here in a minute. I've got the shots of the drone. So don't think the ladder was involved. 4-26. This is when Crooks is seen by picnic tables near the AGR building. Now, this is where I'm not sure exactly what side of the building they're talking about. But this is the text messages that were released recently. This was by the team there.
It says, someone followed our lead and snuck in and parked by our cars, just so you know. Then it goes on to say, just letting you know, because you see me go out with my rifle and put it in my car, so he knows you guys are up there. He's sitting to the direct right on a picnic table about 50 yards from the exit. This is where the picnic tables are located.
So yeah, there's the spa guy there. And so, I'm trying to think why I had this up. Oh, okay. So there's an area in the back that had the picnic tables. Then it goes on to say. So it's possible he could have been right here at this picnic table, because it actually is 50 yards from that door. Because it says, he's to the direct right on a picnic table about 50 yards from the exit. And this picnic table is literally like 50 yards. But it's also possible they were talking about this side. Oops. Well, it's going to go to it here. Which would be just on the other side here. And there is actually not only one, but actually two picnic tables. And his bike would have been parked right here. So we can see a picnic table there. So it's possible he could have used this picnic table. And that's the one they were talking about. Or there's actually one if he panned to the left, which I think he does at some point. And there's kind of another picnic table just hanging out. So now they are clearly aware of him. And here's me again, just looking at the street view. And here's another picnic table. We were just coming up the road. And so it's possible maybe he was sitting at that picnic table. His bike was literally between those trees right there. So it could have been that picnic table maybe he was hanging out at. Not sure. And then, of course, this building all connects to the buildings next to it. We can see here is what I believe they call breezeway, which we know that there was, kind of a counter sniper team in here. There's only a few guys who ended up leaving the building because they were trying to search for Crooks. It was kind of left that rooftop below them exposed, unfortunately. Yeah, I need to look that up some more. Like I said, I need to watch that and see how he words it. Because again, it could just mean he was live streaming to his phone, although I don't know if that would be the proper term. Just, that's what I would call it. So now we have this footage from Dayve Stewert here. So now we're at 5 p.m. here. Of course, they're well aware of him. With those text messages that came out, shows that they knew of Crooks 90 minutes before the shooting happened, which is just terrible. but we can see where the fence is. Now this guy here, he's kicking people off. Now it doesn't seem like he's authority. Maybe he's like a groundskeeper. Keep in mind, I think this is a Saturday. It's after 6 p.m. So the AGR building is closed. It's just temporarily being used for, you know, the sniper team and the other law enforcement teams. But you got this guy here. He's just on the other side of the fence. And then this guy here, like I said, trying to kick people off. This guy's just trying to oh.
This guy's kicking everybody out.
It clearly doesn't work because
He's raging.
people still see. We still see people here. I really think that maybe this guy was like a groundskeeper or something. Let me know what you think in the chat. I mean, obviously, if he was law enforcement, he'd pull out a badge or whatever, and I think people would have been, been gone. But that doesn't appear to be the case. So Crooks would have been likely just around this corner, probably beyond this group of people. So then we have reports of a suspicious person at 5:10, and then at 5:14 is when they took a photo that we know of from the AGR building where he's kind of leaned up on that ledge. Now that photo doesn't get sent until minutes later, so the photo itself was taken at 5:14. So that means at the time, Thomas Crooks, with his bike being over here, was probably kind of loitering around this area here. And at 5:14, he would have been, make sure you guys can see that okay. Leaning up on this ledge here. And I noticed something very interesting. So again, I just took a small percentage of this guy's footage, but I do have the link in the description if you would want to see it. He flies all over the place where he kind of does like kind of like a first person perspective of what Crooks would have been looking at. And then he also goes to the water tower. Some amazing drone shots. But here's the thing where he's leaning up against. And so 5:14 is when those photos were taken. We can see him here where he's got a cell phone and a rangefinder. Here's a view from that exact window, except the guy looks left. But if you were to just kind of pan to the right, you would have seen the ledge. I'm assuming this is taken by some of the employees at AGR. What's interesting, and I'm sure people have probably talked about this before, but this just occurred to me earlier today. The fact that if you think about it, he's using the rangefinder. Anybody that's not familiar with the rangefinder, it's the same thing as binoculars, but it uses like a laser or something. And so whatever you're looking at, it tells you the distance, I don't know, yards. I'm sure you could pick, what meters, whatever. But if you think about it, he is literally doing a rangefinder right here, and he's going to be positioned up here. So he is literally almost parallel to where he's going to be shooting. So he has got a really good spot, and a good idea of the range of where Trump's at and where he's going to be firing from. And that didn't really hit me until actually looking at this angle here and just how close, if you were just to kind of parallel over up on the roof, I mean, it would be off maybe by a yard or two, but for the most part, yeah, pretty interesting. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that, that's for sure.
So then later on,
Oh, Wanda says, you said they. Who is they? Who is text messaging? So these are the messages between, and we're going to read some more here in just a minute. These are the messages between the teams that were involved. I forget, it's Beaver. I forget the exact name, but it was one of the local teams, part of the counter sniper team, that had spotted him, and then they had this kind of group chat where they were sending information to each other, obviously trying to keep everybody in loop. So those messages, those text messages, were coming from them, and we're going to see some more of them.
Building, where the team in that building took some photos of Crooks leaning on this ledge. This was taken at 5:38 p.m. In the message, it says, "Kid learning around building we are in." Building, where the team in that building took some photos of Crooks leaning on this ledge. This was taken at 5:38 p.m. In the message, it says, "Kid learning around building we are in."
Yeah, so it's interesting. Is he, if that was a typo, I mean, yeah, it could be learning, could have been lurking, or leaning. Although, kid leaning around building we are in. I wonder if it was lurking, but learning, I guess.
Perhaps lurking or leaning. Goes on to say, AGR, I believe it is. I did see him with a rangefinder looking towards the stage. FYI, if you want to notify SS snipers to look out, I lost sight of him. Also, a bike with a backpack sitting next to it in rear of building. That was not seen earlier. Then someone replies that they will have a uniform check it out.
So obviously, this is kind of when that team that didn't have many people in the building itself, I think it was 2-3 men that were kind of part of the counter sniper team that was stationed in the AGR building here. That is when, after seeing him with the rangefinder and then sharing him with the group, that is when they exited, and now they're kind of going out and searching for him. And this was kind of one of the great mistakes. And I think, just in my opinion, is I think Crooks then retreated kind of back towards his bike. And, of course, now they're looking for him. Now, keep in mind, there's a bunch of other rally goers. So, it's not like it's just him and law enforcement. You got all these other rally goers on the outside of the fence area here. So I'm sure it'd be easy to just kind of get, blend yourself into the crowd. But there was a report, interestingly, at 5:40 about a man in a rangefinder. The first
security failure happened at 5:40 p.m.
And so I found this, which I thought was very interesting, especially the time frame of it.
About half an hour before the shooting, when a local police officer spotted a suspicious-looking man holding a rangefinder at the entrance to the rally. A rangefinder is a small device that you can look through like a scope or binoculars. You press a button on it, and it digitally gives you the exact distance of a target that you're aiming at. The suspect was pacing around outside the metal detectors at the bag area check. Officers thought maybe the device was just to observe the speech in the rally better. The officer put out a message, though, over the radio net to warn everyone of this sus behavior, which was passed along to Secret Service and other agencies. Now, AP reported that police officers...
So keep in mind, one of the biggest colossal mistakes in this whole entire thing, along with many others, is you have these different agencies. You know, you have the Secret Service team, you have local officers, other agencies, and the biggest issue is they're all on different frequencies. They're all on different radio, and so not everybody's getting the same information. Only the groups that they're in, you know, the officers can speak to the officers, but they're not really relaying the important stuff to this, you know, Secret Service, and so yeah, that was the big issue, a communication breakdown.
then lost sight of him in the crowd as they tried to follow him. According to John Miller, a former senior FBI agent, people had his description and were looking around.
So I thought that was very interesting that was reported. That would kind of make sense that he would maybe kind of retreat back. Maybe he knew that they had spotted him. You know, obviously we may never know all the exact details. But it would make sense for him to kind of retreat back, maybe kind of blend in with the folks. And now you've got, you know, these people that were in the AGR building that were supposed to be kind of overlooking this roof and around are now kind of out, you know, trying to look for this guy. And now he's not in that area at the time. But now, obviously, it's 6 p.m. That's 11 minutes until he would start shooting. So now he's got to get back to that area. June says, thank you so much for time to create this content for us. Thank you so much, June. Means the world to me. I promise I've got a lot more to break down for you guys. A lot more. Candy said, did he have a gun in the backpack? I think he did. I think this is what I think. Obviously, maybe one day, you know, eventually this will be revealed. I think he had the gun obviously hidden in the backpack. Or he had this other thing that was kind of like, it looked like a duffel bag. I couldn't really tell. It's kind of like rolled up. Which actually is kind of more longer. That would kind of make more sense. We'll look at the bike picture again, see what you guys think. I think at some point when he was lurking around earlier, I think he stashed that AR. I think he knew there's 2 areas that he could have climbed up. And I think, in my opinion, he stashed that AR somewhere near where he was going to climb up. Just my opinion, of course. Because I doubt he's going to be walking around with an AR. That wouldn't be good. So here's the 2 areas that he could have climbed up. And again, remember, they have said that they say surveillance footage. So I wonder, is it really surveillance footage, or we know so many people had their phones and were recording. Was it just somebody that was recording and they actually recorded him climbing up? But they do say they have footage of him hoisting himself up. So it does not appear that he had a ladder. And if you look at this one here, easily can climb up onto this. And then that's probably another maybe 4 to 5 feet from the AC to the little shed here. And then from there, it's kind of tough to say, maybe another 4 to 5 feet. Easy jump, and then you're up. And once you get up to this part, you can access anything as far as the rooftops. So that's one area. And if you think about it, he could just easily hide his AR behind this, you know. Because keep in mind, this area is not supposed to be part of the Trump rally. You know, this is on the outskirts. And so, you know, I think they weren't really expecting a lot of rally goers to be around this area. Let me get to Alan here. 9 months. That's awesome. Time flies. He had a Hyundai Santa Fe. Yeah, that's what it was, a Santa Fe. Yeah, maybe they said Sonata. Santa Fe starts with an S. Yeah, that's probably what it was. Just kind of some misreporting. Michelle, good to see you. You think lurking? I think so too. That was kind of the first, going back to the text message. That's the first thing that popped in my mind as well. So there's the breezeway that he could have crossed over. But what's interesting as well is climbing on that stuff, and you can hear it when the body cam footage that they released, where the aftermath, where they go up and climb up, you can hear when they're walking on that. It's really loud, it's kind of not very solid, and kind of pops. So it's kind of amazing that they didn't hear him, kind of walking above them, which probably shows that they were not in the building at the time. Yeah, Beaver Coast SWAT team. Thank you, Chevy. Good to see you, buddy. So, this would be the other area that he could have climbed up, which to me seems pretty almost easier. And that's this AC unit to the breezeway and then up. I mean, and then I think there's even a window right here to the left that he could have maybe put his foot and then just climbed up. I mean, it looked like he could just probably run and jump. That's probably 4 to 5 feet tops from the AC. So that wouldn't be hard for him to just climb up there. And then the same thing, he could have hit his AR back here, and then that way it's already positioned, and then when it's time to go, he grabs the AR, kind of tosses it up there, then he gets up there. Now we're at 6:06 p.m. We are 5 minutes away from the shooting, and we're going to get to some enhanced audio. Yeah, the gun had a collapsible stock, which would make it a little bit easier to kind of conceal, even though it's still kind of bulky. But yeah, that would help to kind of conceal it. So at 6:06. Oh, so 6:06. The reason why I have that timestamp up is actually what they said in the, as a matter of fact, the recent committee hearing today, where they said that they had the video and it's time stamped at 6:06. So 6:06 is when he hoists himself up, and they have video of it. So obviously this is would be his viewpoint right here. Trump would have been kind of right here. The video that we'll transfer over to in a minute, obviously, is where the guy is standing. This is the tree that this guy, that Dave guy, would get behind. This would be where that lady with the horse literally walks right through here, I mean, she is really lucky. I mean, we're talking seconds, 20-30 seconds before her shooting happens, as she had crossed over. So now he would be in position. I'm looking at my notes to the right here. Now this timestamp's kind of wrong. I think he just put 6:10 because shooting happens at 6:11, but I think this is kind of a couple minutes before. I think he's just got a static 6:10 p.m. there, so it's not completely off. but I think this is like a minute or two just before. So now, obviously, he is up there, and clearly they know that there's something wrong, and people are shouting, you know, he's up here. There's somebody's up there.
So the video eventually fast forwards to 6:08 approximate, although it says 6:10 p.m. down in the bottom. Since the shots haven't happened yet, it's clearly off a few minutes. And we can see that there is a lot of law enforcement activity going on. And that is due to the fact that others have been shouting out that there is somebody on the roof. This would be around the time that the officer had attempted to lift himself up onto the roof, and when doing so, saw Thomas Crooks with a rifle, and Crooks saw the officer and turned to point the rifle at the officer, which caused the officer to drop down. Then we have this.
So yeah, of course, we heard about the officer who attempted to climb up, and as he did that, Thomas Crooks had actually turned around to point the gun at him, and so he had to kind of let go, because obviously he's in a defensive position. You know, he can't grab his sidearm or whatever because, you know, he's just holding on. So obviously he's got to let go, or, you know, he's going to be, you know, likely shot in the head. But this is where some new details have emerged.
This lady walking her horse literally between the shooter and where Trump was speaking.
Is that crazy? I mean, he is literally sitting just over this thing here, and she is literally between the shooter and Trump. And man,
who is really lucky. Here we see the group from a different angle that were filming Thomas Crooks on the roof and trying to get law enforcement's attention about a man on a roof.
And so what's interesting about this that somebody pointed out, and I thought this was very interesting, and probably another one of many problems for law enforcement and all the agencies involved, is the way that the ground is, the way the surroundings are set up, and I mean by that with the ground itself. And if you notice here, notice there's this hill. You know, we kind of got this down, you know, upgrade, and to the right, it's lower, it's kind of flat with the building. But here, you know, this kind of rolls up. So, you know, all these people, they've got a much better advantage where they can actually see Thomas Crooks. But, you know, you see all these officers and, you know, different agencies kind of, you know, trying to figure out what's going on. But sadly, they're in a position, you know, because of the elevation, they're kind of at a lower elevation where they can't really see what's going on. They hear the commotion, so you can imagine the confusion. And, you know, these people, they know. You can see, actually, if I zoomed in right here, you can actually see somebody pointing right now. So, yeah, that kind of clearly puts all these guys here at a disadvantage because they're at kind of that ground level. You know, here's this guy, and they're all trying to kind of get back. But so another thing where it's kind of puts them at a disadvantage. But now we're just, you know, a minute away from the shooting.
So then we see this officer begin to yell at this lady to get out of there. They clearly know something is wrong. Then we hear he has a gun, and the shooting would begin.
Make yourself small, bro. I don't know what's going on.
Want to really see something that's said? Take a look at what happened.
So after
So I am gonna blow your mind with some new details that maybe some people have not heard. I know there's some people that probably follow this case, probably know a lot better than me. So keep in mind, I'm not an expert in this case. I've tried to do a lot of research in specific areas. I do get things wrong. I am human. But again, before, when this first kind of started, like I said earlier in the show, that there was different sleuths and whatever that had taken the audio from other sources, which I believe were kind of further away. But with this guy being like right there, this Dayve Stewert video allowed me to, because he's close, allowed me to extract his audio from his video from the shooting, because there's still a lot of, obviously, people questioning, was there 7 shots? FBI reports that they recovered 8 rounds. It sounds like there's 2 other shots that are fired. I've seen some people claim that the 2 shots after were from the sniper team, but it comes to find out, according to recent news, that an officer had actually shot at Crooks, and this officer probably saved a lot of lives by doing this, because he distracted him. And we're going to hear it. I'm going to break this all down, because this is something I love to do, is break down, do audio enhancement. And so we're going to count all the shots. We can see how certain shots sound the same, so we can kind of tell who's shooting. And then I'll show you the one where the officer had fired. So we'll just play this. This is kind of audio enhanced. And then we'll break it down further. So obviously we have the first 3 shots. Then we have a concession of a bunch of shots all together, and then another shot shortly after, which this one is very important. And then there's kind of a gap with about what is it? Look at it, 9 seconds. And that shot right there. Now that's the sniper. So 10 seconds from the last shot there. So we are going to break this down. This is very interesting. I was kind of really blown away. So here is the report. Thomas Matthews Crooks paused shooting at former President Donald Trump after a local law enforcement officer assigned to the SWAT team returned fire. And Crooks did not shoot again before he was killed by Secret Service. I don't know why I keep saying surface. Secret Service counter sniper, according to 2 officials familiar with the investigation in the assassination attempt. The shot from the local officer caused the would-be assassin to temporarily recoil from his perch on the rooftop. This is huge, huge, because this throws him off. Now, we don't know exactly where this officer fired from. I have an idea. I'm assuming from the flank. So I'm trying to do the camera. If anybody knows, a flank is from the sides. And so this would cause him, so, he fires his 7 to 8 shots. We'll figure out how many there were exactly. And then this officer fires a shot, likely from one of his flanks, which then obviously would have caused him to obviously react and probably put himself in an even more compromised position, because keep in mind, he's down in a very low area with a very small area to be shot at, you know. If he's down prone and he's kind of got this, you know, it's a little bit of cement that's kind of help, you know, kind of blocking part of his body. And obviously he's on a slope a little bit, so there's not much to shoot at. But because of this officer shooting at him would cause him to react and probably caused him to, you know, maybe get up a little bit and expose himself further, which then allowed the sniper to obviously get a great shot in, which is amazing shot. So we're going to break the shots down here. Let's see. So yeah, according to audio experts who examined the gunshots, a critical period that ended when the Secret Service counter sniper shot killed him. So we're going to break this down for anybody that's wondering how many shots. And so this isn't the guy, although I have, you know, the thumbnail, because I'm assuming this would have been kind of what it may have been. That, you know, maybe this was the flank and maybe he was shooting this way, the Trump shooter, and he got distracted. And so here he now exposes himself where the guy, the counter sniper, now has an easy shot. So let's break this down real quick here. So we have 3 shots. Those are clear as day. We know those are 3 shots there. The nice thing about breaking down audio is we can see where the gun peaks at, and so we can kind of count those peaks. And it's crazy because when I first had heard these and counted them, sometimes I get 4, sometimes I get 5. But here's the best way to do it. And first I'll show you which one was the officer shooting at him. That right there, this shot right here is the officer shooting at Crooks, which would distract him. And you can tell it has a different sound to it compared to the AR. We'll play that again. Notice how that's got a different sound to it. And then when you hear the sniper shot, it's much different. So let me probably pull up the program. And this is very fascinating. And then we got a lot more. If you're just coming in, we got a lot more to go over. We'll talk about the bomb here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of cut this out here. So again, to those that let me get to chat real quick. Gail Hurd gifting 2 mob crew memberships. I saw you do one earlier as well. Thank you so much. The support means the world. It does help this channel. If you do, you know, send a PayPal or Venmo, just put it in the chat to let my mods know so I can thank you. So here we go. The best way to count these shots is to go backwards. So let me just show you guys, and we can actually see the peaks of them. So here we go. So I'm just going to play this one more time. These shots that are in concession. So, you know, they're all kind of grouped together. A lot of times I think it's 4 shots. But if you actually work it backwards, you'll see this is 5 shots. So we're going to start. Oops. I got to pause it so it doesn't do that. Stop it, I mean. Oh, this is a new. There we go. This is a new. They just updated Audacity, so I have to get used to this program here. So here we go. So we're going to work our way backwards. So here's the peak. So here's the first shot. 1 shot. Clearly 1 shot. And we're going to work our way backwards. 2 shots. Work our way backwards. 1, 2, 3. Work our way backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4. And work our way backwards. So, clearly 5 shots for anybody that was wondering. So, there are 3 shots, obviously, that are pretty, because they're so spaced apart. And then you have 5 shots. It's almost like, if you look at this, it's almost like he pulled the trigger once, and then he did 2 double taps after that. That's what it sounds like. But notice this one here is the officer that shot at him. And notice I'm going to play from the last shot from Crooks and the shot from the officer. And notice there is a different there's a different kind of audio signature to it. Notice the difference. Clearly different sound. So this is the shot from the officer distracting Crooks, who could have unloaded much more shots and could have caused a lot more deaths. And we've even heard, the FBI director and others say that, because they didn't get Trump off the stage quick enough, that with that type of weapon, he could have mowed them down. So I think this officer, hopefully they recognize him and he gets, great recognition, because, again, I think this caused the sniper to have to react, because he's likely getting shot from probably where those, because he's probably up, kind of where those people were situated, kind of up on the hill. Again, I'm just kind of speculating, but more than likely from a flank, where now, instead of his focus being towards Trump, he now has to look, left or right, and try to defend himself. And again, not thinking that he's got 2 sniper teams looking his way, and so far he's been prone that there's very little to shoot at. And now with this officer shooting at him, he reacts, exposing himself, and then, that sniper team licking their chops, gets, the headshot in, and boom. So, and just for anybody, again, because I know a lot of people thought this was 2 sniper teams shooting at the end, but I'm going to show you, you can tell the sound is much different. So just one more, and then we got more to go over, I promise. But one more time, this is the officer shooting, and then the sniper. I cut the 10-minute or 10-second gap, so it's just kind of back to back. Notice how long this goes out, clearly showing that this is a sniper. It's going further. Much more difference in the audio signature, and so I hope that kind of shows and explains everything. Let me know if you have any questions. This is something I do love breaking down, is audio enhancement. But yeah, again, I think that's amazing that officer fired that shot, even though who knows if it hit him or not. Just the fact that he did that distracted him, because there was 10 seconds until that sniper shot. So I mean, I don't know how many rounds are in that AR. I'm sure a lot more than 8. Good question. I'm sure somebody in the chat probably knows. So whatever rounds were left in that magazine clearly could have caused a lot more injury or death, and could have succeeded in his job. It's truly wild. So we've got much more to go over. I do hope you guys are enjoying the show. Dom says, I sent a PayPal. Thank you so much, Dom. When I get a chance when I play this, I will look that up real quick, dude. You are so awesome. Thank you, Dom. I know it's tough times. I do appreciate your support, buddy. So now, obviously, with him being eliminated, now they're coming to check on him. But we're going to talk about the bombs and why they didn't go off, and where he had positioned the van and himself. And I do think he did have a plan, maybe to get out of there alive, possibly.
Operators are. I think they're on the roof.
Is that where the dude is too?
Yeah, he's up there too. So the ladders are en route. So the operator suffered lacerations. So like we might need minor stitching. Can't confirm life status on the mail, but let's get our operators take care of first. But ladder is coming. So how we got up, next corridor over. Okay. We're in this tight little. You'll see all the handprints on the. The suspect is directly above us.
So the ladder's going to be coming over here?
Yeah. They're going to bring it back.
So that corridor down there?
Yeah. It's right between the football and
Yeah. Yep. There's just some aftermath from this poor guy, Dave.
So after the shooting, we can see different armed men approaching the building, checking the windows, and then we see a huge group of them in the back looking up towards the roof. And here we see likely the...
So it is a lot of... Sadly, it's really shaky. Obviously, I'm sure he's probably... going through adrenaline right now. I'm sure it's hard to keep a camera steady. But it looks like this guy's getting up on a pallet. He's probably the first one to get up there. But we do see how one of the ladders get there.
First officer to climb onto the roof via a wooden pallet. Eventually, they would get ladders and place them up there to gain access.
So there's the ladder that we would see those guys climb up with.
Access to the body of Thomas Crooks.
Standing on the stage out in the crowd.
But now we're going to be talking about the bomb device. But yeah, listen how loud that is.
So if you remember this video of the agents speaking on the roof with the officers,
it's amazing. If those guys were in the building, man, they would have had to have heard him. I mean, unless he was kind of creepy crawling, maybe it wouldn't have been as loud. But again, from what we understand, these guys were out of the building at that time trying to look for him.
Officer mentions that they detained 2 people.
Somebody detained, correct?
That I don't know.
Detained on this side.
So yeah, they mentioned 2 people detained, and we do find out that this guy Dave, this poor guy Dave, actually was one of the ones detained.
It seems one of those people were this guy Dave.
Sorry.
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 Get your name?
Yeah, for sure. I got you, bro.
Who says that
So apparently he says, Agent Smith was going to take my phone. I stopped recording and locked my screen. He only wanted my picture and ID and ran toward the building. I recorded 6 more minutes of footage until my phone was snatched by a Pennsylvania state trooper. I was arrested and handcuffed. He says he's got more footage.
Pennsylvania state trooper came over and arrested and handcuffed him.
But now we're gonna talk about the bombs because there's a lot more interesting things to go over as well.
In addition to the two devices that we recovered out of his vehicle, there were receivers for those two explosive devices with the devices, and then on the shooter himself, when he was killed by law enforcement, he had a transmitter with him. Now, I do want to add one important point here, is at the moment,
Donald Trump nearly lost his life, along with 3 others who were injured, with one sacrificing their life to save his family. More and more details emerge since that infamous day, and how this was a colossal failure on the part of Secret Service and a breakdown in communication and security. Reports a picture was released that showed this device laying close to Thomas Crooks' body.
So yeah, we're gonna. Oh, sorry, apologies. So we're gonna break down this device and show you guys how lucky they were that he screwed something up, because he could have done more damage. And yeah,
this was rumored to be some kind of detonator or transmitter for a bomb.
Thank you, Carolyn.
We would also learn via the committee hearings that Crooks had 2 bombs in the trunk of his car, which was apparently parked somewhere outside the perimeter of the rally. So what exactly is this device that was laying next to Crooks' body, and how does it work? After doing a lot of research, I found exactly what this device was. This device is a long-range RF wireless remote control with 12 channels. That is why there is the buttons 1 through 12.
So we can see that it takes a 9-volt battery, which we can see. I know it's probably a little hard to see right there, but clearly I'm sure they were trying to disable the transmitter as soon as they could by taking out the 9-volt battery, rendering it, disabled.
This device can send an RF signal up to a distance of 5 kilometers or 3.1 miles.
So keep that in mind, 3.1 miles that this device can send a signal, apparently. Keep in mind, I know a little bit about these. I'm not an expert in these, but I try to do some decent research on this and found some interesting things out. Chevy says there are 5 round California complainant rounds, 10 rounds for hunting restrictions, 30 and 40 round magazines. It looked like maybe a 30 round magazine is what he had, in my opinion. So if he shot only 8 rounds, he would have still had 22 rounds left if that was a 30 round magazine. 22 more shots. He could have easily mowed down that security team and Trump. So again, going back to that officer, I really hope he gets more recognition, because it sounds like he really saved many more lives. Obviously kudos to the sniper team as well, but that's huge.
So could this device actually send a signal to a bomb nearby and activate it? The answer is absolutely. In a nutshell, this device is like a garage door opener, where you have your remote with a button and a receiver, and by pressing the button on the remote sends an RF signal to the receiver, which then...
So yeah, this is for anybody that's not familiar, layman's terms, this is like the device he has is like a much bigger version of a kind of a garage door opener, but it's the same thing. You have a device transmitter, and then you have a receiver. The basic thing would be, obviously, a great example would be a garage door opener. You have your remote, and then the receiver that's connected to the garage door, and then you press the button and it opens.
Activates whatever's connected to the receiver.
But of course, with more significant people that can obviously have a great background and know what to do and how to work with these things, can obviously improvise and turn these things into this remote control devices that can be used to detonate bombs.
Remote control that Crooks had is the same thing, except you can technically activate up to 12 things with this particular remote if they are properly hooked up to a receiver. And he would have been able to activate something up to 3 miles away with this particular device. It's scary to think that Crooks could have caused much more damage and loss of life with the 2 bombs in his car and another bomb apparently at his home if they were somehow activated. But according to reports, they claim whatever Crooks had built regarding the transmitter and bombs, they wouldn't have activated.
So this is, again, where, sorry, I just got hit with like the worst headache, like on the right side, like piercing my temple. Oh, that sucks. I took a Tylenol. Anyway, so this is where the Trump rally was at. This is where the van was at, which had 2 of the IED explosives in there. Well within the distance of the range for to detonate. I think it's 0.6 miles. Remember, this has a radio frequency up to 3.1 miles. So clearly that van, or the bombs that are in the van, are within range of that device to explode. This was the street the van was on. Here's the footage. I know we showed it a little bit earlier, but here's them kind of, this was captured by a guy that lived on the street and had saw people. And this is where the van was parked, which was kind of interesting. And this is why I really think he was I really think he had an intention to actually live, or at least for the first part, because he sets up a van that has 2 bombs in it, but it's not like Timothy McVeigh, where, you know, he's at, you know, a big giant building, although of course he had much worse stuff with him and could cause much bigger damage. But, you know, he's just parked here where, you know, obviously we don't know the exact details about the device itself, but I can't imagine it being, you know, too big of a bomb that it wouldn't maybe level more than maybe the front yard. Obviously sending shrapnel because it's a van, but I can't imagine it, you know, being super destructive. Still dangerous, of course. But again, it's not placed where, you know, it's next to a building or whatever.
He lives right near where this all happened at that
So this is the guy that lives on that street, and he had seen after, you know, the shooting, a bunch of activity on his street.
alley, and you also recorded some video. As we see now, the suspect's van was parked right in your street, and they all kind of had it closed off, Martha, because they didn't want people from the rally to park on your street. So then you knew this guy's car wasn't supposed to be there. Walk me through what you saw.
So I came home a little bit before 5, so I parked there. Didn't really think too much of it. It was the only spot in the whole yard, or the whole road, that wasn't blocked off. So later on in the night, everything happened, and we got home, and we were sitting there and saw cops all lined on the street. So whenever we looked out, we walked outside and saw them opening up his vehicle and everything. When the cop opened it, everybody else jumped back and was trying to stay out of the way. Here I am worried about it blowing up or whatever's going on. So,
I mean, to find out that this happens and the former president gets shot nearly right in the head, almost assassinated across the street from your house, and then to find out that the gunman's car was possibly parked right in front of your house. How many cops are we talking about that were out there surrounding this van? And was there a license plate on the back of that van?
There's probably 5 to 10 cars out there, and there was an Arizona plate on the van.
Sorry.
And there was probably...
Yeah, did you hear that? Again, I know I said this earlier, but that's huge.
The 10 cars out there, and there was an Arizona plate on the van.
So again, Arizona plate, another sign that, you know, this was a plan for him to just, he was just gonna for sure go out that day. I don't know why he would spend time putting an Arizona plate on. So clearly, I think he had intentions to create a diversion, and we'll talk about that here at the end. I'm curious to know what you guys think.
And there was probably 15 cops altogether, all outside of the van. And then, like I said, whenever the one opened up the door, the rest of them all jumped back trying to stay out of the way.
Did the police talk to you at all? I know you were out there with your son. Were you guys worried for your safety?
We weren't not worried, but yeah, we didn't talk to any cops or anything. They waved hello, but that was about it. So.
Okay, well, thanks for talking to us. So that's just kind of some of the witnesses, Martha, out here. But we want to get to some of the video and some of the live pictures that are happening right now in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, here in this swing state. Take a look there on your screen. You can see this is the home of the gunman who's now been identified by the FBI as Thomas Matthew Crooks of Bethel Park. So we saw a county bomb squad that rolled in earlier throughout the morning into the afternoon. Police telling us bomb-making materials were found inside of that home there and also inside of the gunman's van that we're talking about here. To Billy, multiple IEDs, Fox finding out from sources, according to our Dayve Stewert. So this search comes just hours after investigators found.
Yeah, so this is something they haven't really, at least that I haven't seen. I could have missed it somewhere. Them talking about how he got the van. Is that the part of the family, a friend that he borrowed it from. All I know in the early investigation is that they said a Hyundai Sonata, but I think it, what was it, Alan said Santa Fe. Maybe they probably just got the model wrong. But yeah, I'd be curious to figure out or find out how he got that van. Yeah, did he rent it or did he just buy it under the table from somebody? Really interesting. It didn't look like a U-Haul, man. I mean, it looked pretty beat up.
Of that home there and also inside of the gunman's van that we're talking about here.
So why didn't the bombs go off? Now, again, I am no bomb expert, but I'd watched some videos with them using kind of the same concept with the radio frequency, having a transmitter and a receiver, which the receiver was then hooked up to a bomb. And there was something very interesting that I learned, and they actually mention this in the report here with the director.
Billy, multiple IEDs, Fox finding out from sources, according to our Dayve Stewert. So this search comes just hours after investigators found.
We've seen more sophisticated and less. I would say these are relatively, again, keyword relatively crude devices themselves, but they did have the ability to be detonated remotely. And so to that point, in addition to the two devices that we recovered out of his vehicle, there were receivers for those two explosive devices with the devices. And then on the shooter himself, when he was killed by law enforcement, he had a transmitter with him. Now, I do want to add one important point here, is at the moment, it looks to us, again, ongoing review, and I can't say that too many times. At a moment, it looks like because of the on-off position on the receivers.
Right there.
That if he had tried to detonate those devices from the roof, it would not have worked.
So notice what he said there, the on and off on the receiver. So on this thing or on this homemade receiver, this is kind of a homemade receiver. This guy just built everything from scraps. But you'll notice, see how his thumb is, and I've got a video here showing him doing it again.
That doesn't mean the explosives weren't dangerous.
So it looks like, in a nutshell, now I don't know 100% from what they're saying. Notice what this guy does first. Now this would be the receiver. Keep in mind this is a homemade receiver. And then of course it's attached, wired to a bomb. Because when the signal sends, it sends electricity and and notice that he flips a switch. So now the receiver is active. And boom. So it sounds like that he forgot to switch on, the off and on button on the receiver, and so if he tried to hit the buttons, they would have not gone off because the receivers were not on. So maybe because he was in a rush, who knows? But again, I guess it's a good thing, because obviously, we don't know how. We just know they're IEDs, but we don't know how big or small. But I can only imagine if it was big enough to explode the van. You can only imagine, the biggest thing would be the shrapnel from the van flying out in all directions. Would be really bad. Someone's thinking Tom Bray. Where did I see that? Tom Bray, did I miss your donation? Is that a PayPal donation or a Venmo? If you did, thank you so much. I'll try to find it here, but thank you again. For those that are kind of new to the channel, again, I just mentioned not only do we cover true crime, but we do go out searching for the missing. We've been working on a case, Aiden Clune. If you're interested, you can go check that out. We got playlist. But anyway, just a few more things here. So here's just kind of an overview, and this is my theory, and curious to know what you guys think. So here's Thomas Crooks, where he was positioned on the roof, shooting. Here's where his van was positioned, which is 0.6 miles away. Remember, his transmitter can go up to 3.1 miles. So clearly in range. Assuming he had everything set up properly to work. And he had his bike situated on this side. I wonder, after shooting, and obviously not being interrupted by that officer and the sniper team, that, maybe he was hoping to, just take out Trump with one or two shots, and then quickly duck back down where he's not exposed anymore, and then quickly go for the transmitter and set off the bomb. Now, although it is kind of a couple blocks away, assuming if it was big enough, would that have created, if it was big enough, they would have heard that. So, first you have the shooting, so you got a bunch of commotion, and then right after he sets off the bomb in the van, which would possibly be loud enough to be heard by from the rally itself, and now everybody is turned towards that direction because of the bomb going off. And with that and the commotion going on, he would then exit off the roof, get on his bike, and blend in with the crowd, and make his getaway. And then with the Arizona license plate, I'm assuming he put that on, so that would likely survive. And when they go to investigate, they see this Arizona license plate, and then they think, and they're looking for somebody in Arizona. I'm sure they would still figured out who he was pretty quickly, but that may have given him enough time to maybe at the very least escape. I'm sure he would have been still caught, but that's just my theory. If you have any others, let me know what you think. Gil Herdsley has to go. She got food. Thank you so much, Gil, for everything. Mac says, great info. Keep it up. Thank you so much, Mac. I really appreciate that. I will be doing a couple of short videos that kind of go over the same thing I had just gone over, so expect those out tomorrow. They're just kind of short. I wanted to do the audio enhancement one and one other. So there may be some repeat of some information, but they'll just be short videos. But howdy, Chris. Great coverage. Thank you so much, Mindy. Yeah, and then he had a bomb at the home as well. I didn't want to show where his home is at. You know, I know the parents are getting a lot of crap. And so I didn't want to show it. I think the device. I think from the device to the home, because he doesn't live far. May have been enough to set that up. I don't know if he would have done that, or maybe if that was kind of like, if that was set up for him maybe to go home, and then if he thought that they were going to follow him home, maybe it was going to be, something really terrible where, might have blown himself up in the home or whatever. I hate to think about something like that, but I really think, with the position of the van, with the Arizona license plate, to go out of the way to put that on really makes me think, that he was attempting to create a distraction and get out of there. Yurik is from Mesa. His family owns an explosive armory company. I'm not sure who that is, Chevy. I'll have to look that up. Yeah, diversion tactic. Yeah. Donna says, I don't think he'd try to hide. Yeah, unfortunately, well, we'll never know because he's not here anymore. But again, just one last thing. We'll just quickly recap, and the main thing I just want to recap is this kind of newer information that that an officer, we don't know who. I don't know if they named him in the article yet. I really hope they do, but I mean, this is absolutely huge to distract him and cause him to be more exposed. So that sniper could just take one shot and wipe him out. Because if we look at that drone footage, again, if you want to check out this Spa Guy's YouTube video, it's really amazing. He flies the drone right down where the sniper was positioned, kind of showing you the position of it. But there wouldn't be much of him exposed to the snipers, during the time, even when he's shooting. So for an officer to shoot at him would cause him to clearly kind of expose himself. And, I know I keep repeating that, but I just, that's huge. I mean, that is just absolutely huge. And that reflects, because I've seen a lot of videos say, well, it was two snipers that shot. But looking at this enhanced audio, that's the nice thing about breaking down audio, is you can see the signatures and you can tell the differences between the two. The sniper, it clearly has a much more signature to it compared to say Thomas Crooks shooting. So it's kind of amazing what you can learn by expanding this stuff. So it's pretty neat. I do hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. Spent a lot of time doing that. Again, for those that donated, thank you so much. I could not do this channel without your guys' support. And And then just a couple more things real quick before we finish up. We are going to be going out. I'm going to be doing a vote for the members and patrons tomorrow, which if you'd like to support this channel, member or Patreon, I upload weekly to that as well. But we have Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. We got some haunted places. We also have some famous unsolved cases that I could take the drone to and go over the history of whatever I'm covering. So I think that would be a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Buddha Belly. And of course, thank you to my wonderful mods, Jennifer D, Copper Horse, Karen. I don't know if I saw Michaela in here. Jocelyn, she may be working. Oh, Tim Bray, there you are. Yeah, thank you so much for the $3, buddy. Again, it really helps me out. Do spend a lot of time trying to put these together. So with that, I'll have some stuff tomorrow, some short videos. And of course, for the members of Patreons, we'll do a vote. I'll let you know. Maybe probably do a members live tomorrow as well. Probably switch that up to a Thursday now. So with that, we're gonna do the pet outro, and we'll definitely see the mods and Patreons tomorrow, and then probably be back Friday. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. Thank you guys for being such amazing chat. I try to get to a lot of the chat as much as I can. But with that, we're going to do the outro. We'll see you guys soon. Love you guys.
Call the sleepers from your